Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 283 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today we had a long overdue interview with one of my biggest inspirations in creativity, content creation, and just someone who's been a big part of my journey over the last 7 or 8 years, Adam Ivy. You might know Adam through his Sell Music Masterclass, which ran for about 5 years. I was actually in that first inaugural class back at the end of 2018, and that's how I got familiar with Adam. He also has a ton of free content on YouTube related to musicians and helping them grow their career, build a brand, and most importantly, make money through their music. But most recently, Adam has transitioned to a new chapter of his journey, working with different businesses and entrepreneurs to help build their YouTube channels. So he actually talked with me extensively about building that next chapter, what that looks like, building an entire new YouTube channel dedicated to this content as well, and really just what it has meant to him to kind of get out of his comfort zone. You know, being someone that had built such a successful brand and such a successful movement with the Sell Music Masterclass, you know, he could have easily just stuck to what he was doing, continued on, but he talks a lot about just losing the love for it overall, just losing the passion for that side of things, and why it was important for him to dig deeper and figure out what the next big thing was going to be for him. And Adam has always been someone that shows his genuine, real side through all of his content and everything he does. And that's really what stuck out to me from the moment I saw his videos back in 2018, is that he's really not afraid to just be his true, authentic self. And that resonates with me and a lot of other people that have worked with him over the years. So I think, you know, him continuing to do that in this new next phase is going to be something that continues to elevate him and his brand and his growth overall. And I thank him for taking time out of his schedule to do this week. Like I said, this could have been done, you know, at any time, but Adam's a busy guy, and you know, I appreciate any, you know, time that he gives to this platform or anything, because I owe him a lot. I owe him so much. He doesn't even know, just for inspiring me to be here today, speaking to you guys and doing everything I do creatively. So this was a great episode, long overdue, like I said. Thanks to Adam for stopping by and sharing some of his amazing wealth of knowledge with us this week. So without further ado, let's get into it. So yeah, I usually just roll right in. I don't even do a lot of big introductions these days, but I kind of just have the guest, you know, kind of introduce themselves. And for you, I feel like you've introduced yourself quite a good amount of times on YouTube and through your content and all that. So I guess one more time, let us know who you are and what you do, Adam.
Sure. So are we jumping like right in, Anthony?
Yeah, we're going right in.
Oh, man. So I'm Adam Ivy. I was a former full-time music producer until I went deaf in my left ear in 2016. From there, I was looking for what is the next thing to do in my life. I stumbled upon education, trying to just teach what I was doing to other people and hopefully benefit their career. And that actually turned into 2 7-figure businesses with courses and coaching. And I recently stepped out of that about 18 months ago, retired completely from the music side of things to focus on my family more, have a little bit more free time, eliminate distractions and focus on helping entrepreneurs and business-minded creatives scale their thing using YouTube, because YouTube changed my life. So now I'm giving back and serving the community in a way where, you know, I can share my gifts and share my 14 plus years on YouTube with them, and hopefully have them experience the same type of transformation that I did.
Yeah, incredible stuff. And like I said before we started recording, it's been about 7 years since I came across your stuff on YouTube, And then I ended up being in the first ever Sell Music Masterclass in 2018.
Yes, sir.
Which is wild to think about. And that, again, I'll tell you this at the end, but obviously I credit you for a lot of the reason why I'm still here doing what I'm doing, and really just for kind of getting me started on the path of doing content creation and building a brand and things like that. Like, I feel like if I never came across your stuff, there's a chance I probably wouldn't be doing it today, or at least doing it the way I am now. So first of all, I want to say thank you to you for doing what you do, and for being such a part of my journey, because I know you've been a part of my journey, but you've been a part of a lot of other people's journey as well. So I kind of want to take it back to, around that time. What was kind of going through your mind when you started the Sell Music Masterclass, when you decided to make that shift from, like you said, being a producer to doing more on the education side and helping others? What was going through your head around that time?
Sure. And before we jump in, man, I know that you just said thanks, but thank you for actually putting in the work. I can't tell you enough. Like, we've had a couple thousand people come through the Sell Music Masterclass, and every time we were to open an enrollment and bring new people in, it was just like my team and I praying, please do the work, please actually follow through on what we're saying, because inevitably, if people don't do what they're guided to do, then nothing is going to change, right? So you're here almost 300 podcast episodes in. And I'm, for what it's worth, I'm proud of you like a little brother, because it's like you did the thing, right? You came in early on when I was still figuring it out, and here we are 7 years later. So that's awesome. In terms of where my mindset was, I'd been on YouTube for a long time. It took me 8 years to hit 50,000 subscribers, which in today's day and age on a focus channel, that's not great growth, but I didn't have any real cohesive subscriber base. They were coming in from this type of video and that type of video, and I was just chasing attention. And until I started living with intention on why I was doing things, I just felt completely lost. I didn't feel fulfilled in what I was doing, even though I was making like beat making videos and a handful of production tutorials and stuff like that. When I shifted over into teaching music marketing, the business side, the career side, the perspective side, all of that, I was doing it kind of out of spite, if I'm being honest with you, because I went deaf in my left ear. So it was just like, if I can't do it, I'll teach everybody what I was doing to be, quote unquote successful, and they could fight over the scraps. It was just like, screw it. Here's everything. Right. And then it was so weird because within like 3 or 4 weeks of doing that, I started feeling really good when people were leaving comments like, oh my gosh, this changed everything for me. I'm so glad I found this video. And then I'm like, maybe God put me in a position to be an educator of my life experience and try to transition that or transfer that into other people. Then no different than when we're making music, right? We have these emotions, we have these thoughts, we have these feelings that we're trying to kind of encapsulate to transfer over to another human being to kind of feel some of that, right, through music. And so I think a lot of us as musicians are builders, right? We build music, we build out compositions, we write songs, we figure out the little tweaks to make it even better with the mixing engineers. Everything is a building of sorts, right? So when it comes to content creation, when it comes to education, it's like, is there a format that makes sense for me that I like to build that will help build other people up? As corny as that sounds, like that's where my heart was.
Yeah.
I never had any intention of selling a course or doing any one-on-one consultations or anything. I did the music marketing videos for like 2 years before I had so many comments saying, do you have a course? How can I work with you? Do you have back then it was like ebooks. Mm-hmm. And then I bumped into a buddy of mine, Adrian, Anno Domini, and he had a program and some courses, and he referred a couple great books to me. One of them was launched by Jeff Walker, and it was just explaining how to take your knowledge and package it in a way that's valuable to people, not overwhelming, very digestible, and implementable, really. So I put together the Sell Music Masterclass, and I don't know if you've ever heard the story, Anthony, but when I launched the very first Sell Music Masterclass, I only had the first 1 or 2 modules done because I thought to myself, if I only have like 2 people buy this thing, I'm going to give them their money back and a valuable life lesson. Yeah. And, that original grand opening that you were a part of, did about, I think, $63,000 in the course of 5 or 6 days. And it sold out because I had very limited seats. And I know that everybody out there is like, what's digital? You don't have limited seats. You know how hands-on I was back then. I'm like answering everybody's question. I'm doing weekly calls, daily calls sometimes. So like, I knew that I wouldn't be able to handle like 300 people like I was able to once I built the team out. But that's how I shifted into it. And then I just kind of went in front of the camera and was answering questions that other people were bringing up in the comments, or things that I had stumbled across or stumbled on in my journey. And then it just turned into 5-year stretch of kind of being one of the top music marketing people on YouTube and inspiring a bunch of other people to do the same type of thing. And it was a great run. It just, as I got a little bit older, I'm 40 years old now, right? When I started that thing, I was in my like early 30s. And as a father of 2, a husband, an entrepreneur, an employer, it just got to the point where I was so far removed from producing myself that I didn't feel like I was the right person to guide, use my time to guide in that space, rather shift over into something that I knew I'd be able to connect with people a little bit more, practice what you preach type of thing,
Yeah. And I feel like what really drew me to your stuff, especially in the beginning as well, is the fact that you've always been someone that you're very transparent with your story and your journey too. And you've always injected your own personality into your content. I feel like a lot of people, they kind of miss the gap between trying to sell something to someone and then letting people know like what kind of went into the decision of even being an entrepreneur to begin with. They kind of miss like the whole point. And I feel like you always got the point, you know what I mean? Which is super, super vital and super important. So again, I have to say hats off to you for being able to do that. Cause like, I feel like I learned so much about you even early on from, telling your stories about growing up in Wisconsin and having normal jobs and moving to Orlando and pursuing entrepreneurship. Like I felt like I was a part of your story through all those videos and through all the content and things like that. And obviously, like I said, we've had conversations before, but me and you have never met in person before. You know what I mean? But I feel like I know you more than like a lot of the people I've known my whole life. So I think that's a super big thing. And has that always been something that you've carried with you, even from, let's say, even before you were doing the Sell Music Masterclass, or even what you're doing now? Is that, how important is that to be able to, share your story within the content and really just kind of get people drawn in with who you are as a person before you start selling to them? Because I think that's something you do better than anyone. So
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I wish I could sit here and tell you that it's like purely strategic and stuff like that, but I've always been a chronic oversharer. We grew up in a house that had a lot more love than it had resources. My parents never made over $30,000 a year collectively. We were on free lunches and other, social services growing up. And, but my mom is one of 12 kids. So, I jokingly say that I have more cousins than most Asian families because we have these huge, like my mom's from a farm family. So everybody has a dairy farm and 4, 5, 6 kids, some of my aunts and uncles. And so growing up in central Wisconsin, having family reunions at my grandparents' house, and like, you're always talking, you're always sharing, you're always catching up, and like friendship. And this is kind of one of my character flaws, but I want people to like me, not for being somebody I'm not, but like, that's just instilled in me for whatever reason. I don't want to be overly controversial. I know that some people over the years have kind of misjudged me or think that I'm being fake or something, because I'm a goofy guy, right? I'm not like the cool, calculated dude. So when it comes to my story, I think it's so important because I know a lot of people out there who are chasing a dream or have a dream, or they're not even sure if they're allowed to dream, think that magically you have to fall into it, or the stars need to align and then magically you're there. And it's not like that. It's a constant struggle. It's a constant sacrifice. And the sacrifice becomes more fun. That's the whole thing, right? When you become a parent, when you move, when you hire new employees, when you set off and do something that you could lose everything like that. If you look at it as fun, then it's just an adventure and it's not like scary, right? Anyway, so me sharing my story was important because I knew that I was where a lot of the people were at one point. I worked in a wood window factory for 4 years right out of high school. Like, I graduated early because I had all the credits. Then 5 days, I think, after my 18th birthday, I got a job at a wood window factory as summer help because my birthday's in April. So I was like summer help. And then at the end, they were like, I'll just make up a number. We need 100 people to stay as full-time, employees, and you could become part of the carpenters union and stuff. So I was not college bound. I had a 1.8 GPA, right? That's why the license plate on my former car said bad GPA, because my guidance counselor, when we sat down, when I think I was a junior in high school, she's like, Adam, college is not for you. You have a really bad GPA. It might have been lower than a 1.8 at that time. But here's the thing, Anthony. I remember like it was yesterday what it was like to come home after a 10 or 12-hour shift in a hot factory, in a freezing cold factory, covered in sawdust, getting back to my little apartment at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then, that was my dinner time, right? And I didn't have a social life because I'm an 18-year-old that literally has to go to work at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 1 o'clock, and I work till after midnight. So it was normal, though, where I grew up. Everybody took on blue-collar jobs. If you didn't go to college to become a nurse or a doctor or an engineer or something, like, you worked in one of the factories. There's a big factory where I'm from called Green Heck Fan. They make these giant industrial fans that are like probably bigger than my house. And it was either that or this wood window factory, cheese factories, packaging, graphic packaging, anyway, I'm going into the weeds here. But there's so many of those jobs that it's just normal. You go and you get a job for $15-16 an hour. You work there till you retire, and that's life. And I always struggled with that. So when I'm doing the content, whether it's, you've been on a ton back in the day, ton of the live streams that we had in the private community. I talk about my life. I talk about my struggles. I talk about real stuff, because I feel like all of the programs that I've been a part of, or the people that I look up to that are just so professional and they like come off as know-it-alls, I don't like connect with them the same way, right? So I feel like there's no one-size-fits-all plan for anybody. But if you give context to how you got to where you are and how you see the world, and you give your perspective, and this is how I see it, that might help somebody open their brain, open their mind, and shift over into saying, you know what, I never thought of it that way. Or, I was under the impression that you had to do X, Y, Z before that worked, and you didn't do that. That's really encouraging. So I appreciate you saying that, like I said, but the people that I work with, the people that have trusted in me to give me money for a program of any sort, I don't want to be the guy who takes your money and then they become a number. Like, you know that. I've never been that guy. Yeah. And so the number one thing, I'll leave it at this, the number one thing in my life that kind of drives me, right, wrong, or indifferent, is, there's a lot of emotions in life: happiness, sadness, anger, fear. The number one worst emotion in my life is disappointment. And I never want to be a disappointment. I never want to disappoint my family. I grew up disappointed, right? My parents would say, oh, we're going to get you this for Christmas. No. Like, literally, I think from like the age of 12 on, I never asked for anything, because if you don't ask for anything, it's like a cheat code. You can't be disappointed for not getting anything. Yep. And so, man, that's just, I could sit here. I'm doing it now, right? I overshare, I go into the weeds, and that's just who I am. And once I embraced that, it just felt way more natural.
Yeah. Hey there, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know about a couple different ways that you can support the podcast. One of the ways is by clicking that support the podcast button within your streaming platform. That is if you want to be a monthly supporter of the show. You can contribute either 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month. So that's the first way, and that's the more traditional way that we've had now for the last couple years. The other method that we actually just recently introduced is from our good friends over at Ko-fi. Ko-fi is a virtual tip jar. We have set our limit to a minimum of $10, but you can go make one-time, one-off donations. So if you visit coffee.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast, you'll be able to donate. And all these different forms of donation go towards getting new guests every single week, getting potential sponsors on board to do giveaways, and overall just making the show better for you guys. So if you want to do that coffee link, it's ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Otherwise, again, look for that support the podcast button in your streaming platform if you'd like to be a monthly supporter. And I just want to say thank you guys for your contributions. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. Again, too, I think it's part of who you are, and it's part of what has gotten you to this point as well as an entrepreneur and what you do. And again, I think it's just that relatability is what drew me in. I know it's what draws a lot of people in, and again, you do it in such an authentic and real way. I got to tip my hat off to you, man, because like you said, there is a lot of people that do it in a way that isn't genuine and it isn't, who they really are. So I've always been able to tell that you were being your authentic self in that way and continue to do that to this day. So again, that's something that shouldn't be overlooked in what you do, because I think it's really a dime a dozen, especially from people that are pursuing the entrepreneurship route.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. And I definitely want to kind of touch on, I guess, from there, the transition into not only building a team, but then to where you are now, where you're focused on, like you said, YouTube, and I think you actually launched a new channel for the new stuff too, if I saw correctly, on YouTube. So I guess man. Talk about, even from, because I know even in like 2019, 2020, you had started building the team out a little bit. Do you still have the same people on the team, or have you expanded beyond that, or how's that looking? And then was the transition to the new type of content a challenge for you at all, or was it kind of the same where you kind of just restructured it around YouTube and not necessarily around music, if that makes sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. So in terms of the team, we had at one point between W-2 employees and contractors, I had 13 people working for me when the Sell Music Masterclass was like at its peak with my accelerator program, which was more of a one-on-one coaching, mentorship. And I learned a lot from hiring a ton of people. I think my payroll at one point was close to $30,000 a month. And then that's when I realized it was just ridiculous. People were getting lost in the mix because this employee or that employee or a contractor wasn't taking it as seriously as I would, right? Like I would always try to push the culture of these people need our value. These people are who we serve. And sometimes it got lost a little bit in terms of I had somebody for a while answering all my DMs and my emails and my YouTube comments and everything like that. And I'd say after 3 or 6 months, I was just like, we can't do this anymore because I feel like I'm not connected as much. And it's never been about making the money. I grew up with so little that, having a little bit now is like, this is freaking awesome, right? And so my team now, I'm down to just a couple people. We had amazing people on the team like Zach and Red and Chico and Connor and just a handful of other people Ricky over the years. And some of these people are still my best friends in the world, right? But Zach, he was working for me for 3 years, I think, and he got a really good opportunity back in Vegas. He works as one of the, essentially like operations manager for Club Killers, which is like a big DJ thing. And he's an international touring DJ, one of my best friends. He's the one who got me into making music back in 2005, 2006. And then Chico and I, he had a great opportunity last year, a little over a year ago now. And so he left the team. We were making the transition. So we had a conversation and he said, hey, I think that this is the right call for me. We've, over the years, I've had to fire some people just for not doing what they said they were doing. And that teaches a lot about leadership, right? Because nobody, at least me, right? I do not like those awkward conversations. I'm not extremely confrontational when I am. I'm like too nice sometimes because I get it. Stuff happens, right? But in the pivot, going from the Sell Music Academy now into what I call Apex Creator, which is helping, like I said, helping entrepreneurs and business-minded creatives A part of it was a complete shock to the system. If I'm opening up about it a little bit, because the Sell Music Masterclass was making on average between, I don't want to exaggerate, $30,000 to $70,000 a month. And then when we would do Sell Music Masterclass launches, it would usually be around 200,000 and in like a cash infusion into the business. It's not going right into my pocket. It's in the business. Like I said, team members and all that good stuff. Our office was almost 3,000 square feet with a bunch of different studio sets and stuff for a while. So that wasn't cheap either. But I just kind of went back to basics, man. Like, I enjoy the creation process. I hand script all of my stuff or outline it, all of my stuff myself. If I send out emails, I write those myself. And so DMs and stuff, I definitely respond to those myself. And so going and shifting over into the entrepreneur space from a shifting position was super easy, because I'd already been doing YouTube for so many years, and I've helped, guys like our friend Andrew Southworth, gave him advice on his YouTube channel back when we were working together. Andrew was on the team for a while. Shout out to Andrew. I think I calculated it just in the music space alone, from friends or people that did like consultations with me on their YouTube channels. There's over 90 million views from those like 5 or 6 channels. Yeah. So I had been helping my entrepreneur friends for years behind the scenes anyway. Some people that are in the space that were competitors of mine, I would help them get more traction on YouTube. So when I pivoted over, I said to myself, look, I hated the fact, Anthony, that there were a subsect of people out there that would see me selling $1,000 course, or my accelerated program was $5,000 for 12 weeks. And I worked with these people directly. I'm just being very transparent about that for the listeners or the viewers that don't know anything about it. I got so sick of people calling me a scam artist. When you know what's in the Sell Music Masterclass, right now there's like 17 hours of content, and someone would call me a scam artist for selling a course, or my accelerator program where I wouldn't even let everybody into that, even if they had a credit card ready to go. Mm-hmm. That I said, you know what? How do I make sure that I'm giving so much value to the right person? And then I thought to myself, well, an entrepreneur that has a business that's already making 6 or 7 or 8 figures, charging them, they would totally understand the return on investment, yeah. Right? So behind the scenes, I've been working with entrepreneurs for the last couple of years. And then when I made the hard pivot, I have a program called Apex Creator Platinum. That's $40,000. And I work with the entrepreneur and their team for 12 months. And I know a lot of people are like, $40,000? Oh my goodness. You can't get somebody straight out of college to have like an entry-level job at a marketing agency for $40,000 these days, right? So if I come in, and what it breaks down, if anybody's wondering, it breaks down to just under $3,500 a month. If I come in and I install the systems, help them with their content, refine everything, get their packaging down, do the management, or help their team do the management in most cases, and they sell one extra thing a month, it's usually profitable, because we're talking about people that own businesses that have a lot of money coming in, right? So one of my clients has a $15,000 offer. And if my program's $40,000, they literally have to sell 4 in the course of a year to be profitable. So it's a whole different ballgame with people that have invested, such as myself. I've invested in, like, I'm in a $50,000 a year mastermind with Russell Brunson. I've invested in coaches and programs and gear, as musicians, gear and cameras and all that good stuff. So it was just time. I know a lot of musicians, well, a decent amount of musicians, kind of got confused as to why I was leaving the music space. It's not just because I want to make more money, because quite honestly, I might not make more money doing this. I might just be able to work with far less people and have more freedom to travel, spend time with my family. And that's cool too. But the thing is, at 40 years old, I am not the guy I was when I was 20 years old making music. I'm not the guy when I was 32 years old rolling out a program and YouTube videos for musicians. And it just came to a point where I wasn't fulfilled in it. I don't think the music industry is going in a good direction, and I could talk about that for 3 hours. And I woke up one day and I said to myself, I don't know if I fully believe what I'm teaching anymore. I don't know if it'll actually work for very many people. I mean, there will always be outliers. But you know how hard it is. I know how hard it is. Most people are not built for it, especially when apps or platforms like Suno come out. And all of a sudden, everybody can make AI music, or they're like, well, AI artists won't replace real people. Follow me here. Go to Suno, have an entire song made, then reproduce it, and have an artist just do the same exact vocal that the robot did.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you don't need songwriting camps. All of a sudden, the computer just spits out 1,200 songs a day, and then the A&R is like, that's good, we'll reproduce that. And that's how it's going to be in the future. And that doesn't sit well with me. So instead of saying, you can still do it, and don't get me wrong, you can, I said, I'm actually thinking about, and this is probably a bad idea for telling you this, Anthony, I am thinking about releasing the entire Sell Music Masterclass for free on YouTube. However, I think some people that have invested in it would get really pissed at me, so that's why I haven't done it yet. Yeah. But I feel like that would be a good legacy play. I just need to figure out how or if to do that. Yeah. But shifting over into YouTube, man, music changed my life, and it took one of my best friends, Michael Elsner, who's a mentor of mine as well. He's in the music space. He said, Adam, because I was really struggling with this. I was like, I don't know what to do. I had another business. The other business is like more than enough paying the bills. So I was like, I don't need to do the music marketing stuff. I don't need to do the Sell Music marketing. It was just becoming more of a headache than anything. And not the people. Like, I love musicians. I'll always consider myself a musician at heart. There are a lot of pieces of shit. There's a lot of great people, right? But that's any and pardon my French. That's any niche, right? So I thought to myself, if I abandon this, my identity has to change, right? And so that's when I stopped doing social media content. I stopped posting on YouTube. And as of recently, about 7 months ago, I launched a brand new channel without telling anybody. I didn't tell you or anybody else. And I just started grinding away at the content the way I know how to do it, trying to share as much as possible without gatekeeping, because keep in mind, I don't have a course for sale in the YouTube space because my clients don't pay me for the information. They pay me to come in and do the implementation and get them up to speed, right? So I can give away literally everything to you in the world that somebody pays me $40,000 for, because I'm not going into these individuals' businesses or helping them launch a business. So that's been very liberating for me. And launching this new channel was super scary because I have this big channel and I'm like, the big man, I'm not saying anymore, but back in the day I was like the big man in the music marketing space, and a lot of pressure came from that. But the new channel, which is, if you just go to YouTube and type in @the Adam Ivy, you'll find the channel. It's up to 13,000 subscribers now, more than 350,000 views on the channel. Speaking of $40,000 clients, I've gotten 2 $40,000 clients in the last, I would say 6 weeks, let's say 2 months from the channel. No paid ads, completely organic, doing what I say that I do, practicing what I preach, and guess what? It works. So that's the cool part about it. We're launching a podcast in early 2026 called Not Really Advice with Adam Ivy. So at the end of every episode, I could say, like, look, do with it what you may. It's not really advice. So, I never really wanted to ever be the guru. That was one thing that always bothered me when people are like, you're the music marketing guru. I don't know everything. I am completely lost on a lot of the stuff as well. But I know, like, some people do not like the statement, but I always say, I know enough to change people's lives, right? And so that's the thing about what we all do here, though, Anthony, right? Like, we should have a skill set. We should have something we're passionate about that impacts other people's lives, in turn changing their life, right? So that's kind of the purpose and the mission now with the new YouTube channel and the new, I guess, revitalized energy and excitement to make content again, which, to be honest, when you talk about getting 100,000 streams on Spotify and how to build a fan base from scratch, and you talk about that for 5 years over and over and over again, it kind of just gets, you get over it, you get burnt out from it, right? So it's like, how many ways can I say that you guys have to make content and put in the work? And how many times a day do I have to say, like, it should be about the music, my music speaks for itself? It's just like, I'm not making this up. You need attention. Then you need to hold the attention and build a relationship. Then you need to take that relationship and convert it into something. That's the entire game of it. right?
Yeah.
You know that. But one really cool send-off, though, is I wrote a book called "You're Not a Brand, You're Not a Musician, You're a Brand," and that will officially be published this month or next month. I'm just going to put it up on Amazon, but I have it at an editor that was doing the formatting and the cover art, back cover art, all that good stuff. And it's I don't know how many pages it's going to be because we changed the size of it, but that is like everything that I've ever preached, all my knowledge, all the insight, all the perspective in a book that I can roll out to musicians around the world for like, I think it'll be like $12 or something, right? So, yeah, man.
I'll definitely be adding that to my Amazon wish list for sure when it drops.
Oh, for sure, man. I can get you a copy. You don't have to worry about it, Anthony.
Oh, for sure, man. Well, I gotta say some final things. We gotta wrap it up here in a minute, but I guess first and foremost, I gotta say congrats on that. Basically, the next chapter, and just being able to continue to reinvent yourself, because I don't know. I think it's a big thing where you can almost get in, like you said, you were in kind of the cycle of doing the Sell Music stuff for so long. You almost get to a point where you're so content with that, you're just going to stick with it. But for you, I think it goes to show how great you are at continuing to push the envelope, where you're like, no, I want to try this new thing and jump in and see where it goes. So I think that's incredible. And really just seeing your evolution just as a person, because I've been able to see, through social media, like you said, you built a family, you have 2 kids now, you're doing a lot of different things in this kind of new chapter of your life. And just to continue to see where it's going to evolve from here is going to be very special. And I just got to say, once again, hats off to you for doing that. And I guess, if anything, you said a lot of the stuff you would preach didn't really stick with a lot of people. And I know that from reading comments. Believe me, I read a lot of YouTube comments of people that were trolling or just people that didn't get it. But, if it means anything, it definitely stuck with me. And like I said, it has helped me out so much the last 7+ years here in my own life, my own journey. And I always kind of think you're like one of the voices in the back of my head telling me to keep going and keep kind of pushing what I'm doing.
Yeah, man.
So once again, I got to say, I appreciate you, Adam, for what you do. And thanks for taking the time to do this today, because like I said, it was long overdue, and I'm happy we were able to discuss things for a bit. And I definitely want people to tap in with what you're doing. So thank you again, and we'll have to do it again soon if you're down.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Anthony. I think one reason that I serve the way I do with guys like you even is, I'm the oldest of 3. I have 2 younger brothers. I was in martial arts for 12 years, and I became a black belt at 12 years old. And from that point on, I was teaching all of the kids from the 12 and under class. I was like the instructor for, probably 5 or 6 years. And so it's built in my DNA to help people and try to lift people up. And I can't thank you enough for seeing through all the negativity that has been floating around, which hasn't been a lot, admittedly. It's like less than 10% of all the chatter out there around what I do. But there's a lot of people that are hurt. There's a lot of people that are too afraid to ask for help. I think as men specifically, it is almost looked down on in certain groups. If we want to be transparent and say, hey, I need help, I need to find somebody to take me along the journey with them. And so, somebody like you who jumped in early, you believed in me, you don't even have any idea how much that means to me, because I didn't even believe in myself enough to make more than 2 modules, because I didn't know if anybody was actually going to jump in. And that first initial grand opening changed my life in another way. And like you said, now I'm pivoting. And I think it's so important for those of you guys out there listening to this. You might do something for a long time, but your first calling doesn't mean that that's your true calling in life. Sometimes we're instilled through our experience and where God takes us to get the tools to step into the elevated calling, step into the next chapter. Who you are at 20 shouldn't be who you are at 30. Who you are at 40 shouldn't be who you are at 30. So continue to evolve, and you can take it from me. It works if you focus, if you put in the time, and if you make the sacrifice to say, I'm going to step away from what I've built, what's comfortable, into what I know my life is meant to be. So with that being said, man, I can't thank you enough for all the support over the years. And I love what you're doing here. Can't wait to see this continue to evolve. And it's been great catching up with you.
Thanks everyone for listening today. That was episode 283. We'll be back at this time next week. As always, hit that support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send us any funds, and feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks everyone.